Happy Sunday. I hope everybody had an amazing week last week. I'm yet to sort out the lighting in here. I know it looks a bit weird, but that's okay. I'm after your help this week. I have come across something that's alarming me by the day here in Bangkok when it comes to my lipedema health. And I did quite a few videos on this before I left Australia, and that's on plastics and microplastics and how they affect our hormones. And as we should all know now, anything that affects our hormones in a negative way will affect our lipedema. So, um, this is the problem. This is how all the food comes here. Okay. So, this is a very healthy papaya salad, right? I haven't tried it yet. I bought it to test. I think they're called som tam. There's an awful lot of chili in here, but the problem is they all come in these plastics. Even buying some amazing mango and pawpaw in the supermarket today, lovely, wrapped up, $3.50 or something like that. So a bargain. Plastic, everything's in plastic. The meat. Now, one of the worst things that you can do when it comes to meat and protein is put it in plastic, because the plastic leaches into the food even quicker because it's hot, and there's something about the protein that leaches in quicker. So even the meat here, everything, and because we eat out a lot more than I ever did at home in Australia, I cooked. In fact, we never ate out. It was pretty unusual. So hi. So every meal here, almost. I'm not going to say every meal, but I would say more than half our meals are eaten out, or we go and buy at the night markets and bring home. And I don't know how they put the air in it like that. That's insane to me. So this is my problem. So how do I reduce the plastics and the plastic leaching into my food? Because while in the beginning and every now and again, it's no big deal. It's like anything you do every now and again is not going to change much. But I'm eating this daily. Not this somtam, it's the first time, but everything that I'm eating is coming in plastic here. I do buy chicken breast from the supermarket, and I have bought glass containers from IKEA as they call it here. And so there's that. And eggs I buy by the 30 tray, which is, how much did I pay for 30 eggs today? Because that's always interesting in this world, right? 120 baht. So that was $6 for 30 eggs. So that's pretty good compared to most places. And that's from a supermarket. If I found a wet market or something like that, which I'm yet to find around here, probably cheaper. But here's the thing with the culture here and with our lack of language, I don't feel like, see, in Australia, you could go to the butcher and give them your container and say, can you put like we did, a friend of mine who was very big into zero waste, not so much the plastics and its effect on our hormones. But she would take a container to the butcher, and the butcher would happily put the meat into the glass containers. Here, there's that cultural aspect and the language aspect, but also I don't think that they'd know what I'm asking for if I gave them a container and said, can you put my somtam in the container? So if you've got ideas for me on how I can avoid the plastics, the coffee comes in plastic containers. Like everything you get is wrapped in plastic, and then more plastic. And if you saw my last video, which I did out and about, I was holding up the coffee that I get from 7-Eleven, and it's in a plastic cup, and that plastic cup is inside a plastic carry bag. And while that seems excessive, the plastic carry bags here for coffee, it's brilliant because everything gets condensed really quickly, and water flows down the side really easily. So the carry bags are great, but they're all plastic. And so I think the video that I did before I left Australia, when I was deep diving into the plastics, it said something like, even the plastic in a tea bag with one dunk is billions of microparticles of plastic. So you can't even imagine what's going on in here, right? Um, I'll be interested to try this. It's got lots of ingredients in it that I have not tried, so that'll be interesting. Um, but yeah, more so than meat. It's actually cheaper to buy meat out than it is for the most part to buy meat and cook meat. Um, so then you've got that whole thing. It's either wrapped in plastic or it's bagged in plastic and then plastic again. So this is actually a high alert item for me. This is, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to navigate this because you've got to navigate what you've got around you. Anything you do with your health in general, right? You've got to look at, well, where do you live? What falls into your price bracket? Because I could go and there's actually a place here called Bangkok Beef, which I could order Australian beef from. I think it's all cryovac, so more plastic, but not so bad because it's raw, whereas cooked meat is worse with the plastics. Um, so you've got to take into account so many different things when you're removing things from your world that could be causing a problem with lipedema, right? So that's where I'm at. I just thought I'd share that this is actually, it seems like a small thing, but it's all these small things that you do every single day that have the biggest impact on your health, positive or negative, right? Um, so this is a major, and look, I could buy the mango and the pawpaw and cut it up myself, but honestly, it's cheaper to get it cut up. It is. And if it's cheaper to get it cut up and it's beautiful, of course you're going to, right? And while I don't eat a huge amount of fruit and vegetables, I still veer on the meat, the heavy meat side. Um, it's still, because it's here, because I'm exercising a lot. If you didn't see my video with Holly from the Grounded Life on Instagram, check that out because I found I can eat more carbs here without it being too much of a drama, certainly with size and weight. However, with the carbs or these sorts of carbs comes the plastics, which is a whole nother set of problems. Yeah, so there's so many things to navigate, and it doesn't matter whether you're living somewhere strange or you're living at home, in your normal wherever you come from. I know in Australia there was still having to navigate those issues, although it was less frowned upon if you brought a container to, like your coffee mugs, for example, taking your coffee mug into your local Starbucks or wherever is not unusual. In fact, it's quite common, right? Keep cups. So that is not seen as normal here. So I think if I drank coffee from Starbucks or Amazon, perhaps yes, but they're like twice the price of 7-Eleven coffee. And I actually prefer the 7-Eleven coffee. But I think they would find it weird if I showed up with my coffee mug. But you know what? I think I might give that a shot now that I say that, because I have got my local 7-Eleven. And I'm hoping they're getting to know my face now because I go in there, all the time. So it might be just a matter of getting over yourself when it comes to some of these things and trying it and see if they look at you strangely, see if they just go, oh, okay, you're weird, you're a Westerner, but we'll do it anyway. I don't know. And yeah, maybe I will just need to buy the whole fruit and cut it up myself if I feel like fruit. The meat and all that kind of thing, I don't know what I'm going to do there. But it is a toxin nonetheless. It's one of the biggest toxins in our world. And I can't remember the name of the doctor that I watched a lot of in Australia. I will find it and I will put it in the comments later. She was the one that opened my eyes up to just how devastating plastics can be to the hormones. And any way that our hormones are shot, it's going to affect lipedema. And so I would rather get on the front foot. I'm sure 4 or 5 weeks here that we've had so far is not going to be too much of an issue when it comes to these sorts of things. But if I go on and do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, absolutely, I believe it will be. There's too much evidence out there to suggest otherwise. So if you still have plastics in your house, your cupboard, you keep your leftovers in plastics, please change them out for glass. They It's not convenient. Glass is heavier. They get broken. You can drop them, all the things I know. But what do I always say? Convenience is killing us, right? It's the things that are convenient, more than likely, like this. How convenient is this? Go and pay $2 for a papaya salad, and it's so convenient. However, how is it affecting my health for the long term? That's the problem. And that's what I'm always trying to look at moving forward. I haven't been too worried about it yet because we're very much in that fitting in, settling down, getting a routine kind of stage, because this was such a big move for us. No matter how long you plan or have a dream or have a goal, and how everyone says, oh, how amazing, there's still a huge amount of logistics involved and stress involved. Whether it's a good move or a bad move, it's still a move to another country. So that stress, I've tried to just sort of let myself not worry about the things like the plastics and that kind of thing yet, until I settle down. But the more I buy things and the more I get things, I'm just like, oh, it's really starting to bug me the more I see it. Now, where I got the papaya salad from, we actually had lunch at a local food court that we go to often, because you can have a plate of chicken and rice, or what they call water dumplings and things like this. And the broth. The broth is amazing. Even my husband today took a sip and went, oh my God, that broth. And that's hilarious to hear him say something like that. But the broth is insanely good. And when we go eat places, then yes, it comes in dishes. But if we go to the markets or whatever and get takeaway to bring back home, then it is all plastic. So I don't know my way around that yet, and I'm not going to stress, but I'm going to sort of start paying attention to what I could potentially do, and maybe even the people that I have got a better relationship with that are starting to see our faces more often, because at the moment we're just another Westerner couple, right? We all probably look the same. I don't know if that's how it works. But there's one particular lady at the night markets that's starting to recognize me, I think. So maybe I could give her a glass container and see if she will put it in that for me. I don't know. It feels uncomfortable to do such things, but it would be more uncomfortable to have my lipedema get out of control because of something that's an everyday thing that you do over here that everybody sees as normal. And why are you being so difficult and all those things, right? And that's why we don't advocate for ourselves when it comes to things that we know we need. You sometimes you just need to go ahead and do it and see what happens, see how they respond, see how they react. And if they don't react well, you can just kind of go, oh, it's okay. And then maybe just don't eat there as often. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at this point. So it seems, again, I'll say it seems strange and silly to focus on such an everyday thing, but that's what Cuppas with Kylie's are all about on Sundays. It's the weird little things that I'm coming across in my world that I'm like, right? So yeah, I've never come across a place that is just so full of plastic. It's insane. Yeah, I just the girl that I studied with that lives in Australia that did zero waste, she would be absolutely blown away by the amount of plastic here. And that's fine. However, it's going to have an effect. And there are lots of Asian women here with lipedema. I see them every single day. I saw in one of the groups recently somebody saying, oh, why do Asians not have lipedema? And I actually answered, I said, I'm living in Bangkok. And yes, they do. So is it their amount of plastic as well? And from a thyroid perspective, there's soy sauce on everything. There's sugar in everything, which is insulin driving. You know, you'll go into a market or a cafe or whatever, and there's usually 4 condiments on the table at every place you go. And there'll be a dried chili, there'll be a vinegar type chili, there'll be a soy saucy sort of thing, or a sweet chili. And there's usually a canister of sugar. to sprinkle. And these are places that sell savory food, not sweet food. So there's a container of sugar there to sprinkle on your food also. So I've got no doubt potentially that this papaya salad is laden with sugar as well as the plastic. So I don't know. There's so many little things, but in a Western country, in Australia, in America, UK, wherever you're tuning in from, it's kind of easier to navigate that kind of thing. But at the same time, apart from I've done something to my knees and they're really hurting the last couple of days, and it could be like about 4 or 5 different things. So I'm going to have to figure out what's causing that. But apart from that, eating normally, even eating rice, I don't eat all the rice, but I'll certainly have, a good few spoonfuls of the rice, and just eating whatever's around me has not seemed to cause too many problems for me so far. My weight is mostly staying stable. Last couple of days it went up a kilo. So you've just got to constantly watch this kind of thing. And if you're in a place you've lived for ages, you've got a much better opportunity and ability to keep on top of everything and to test things continuously. There's a lady that I used to follow on Instagram, and I had to unfollow her because it was doing my head in. This woman sold makeup and was part of a big MLM, whatever makeup that you sell online. She got cancer, and she got cancer in the throat here. And the first thing she did was go out and change all the plastic food items in her fridge for all glass, which totally down for that. Yeah, absolutely. Anything you've got control over, go to the $2 shop or whatever you've got and change all those things out for glass from plastics, all of that kind of thing. But she kept layering the makeup on, and I was just like, the toxins, and she's putting this makeup, and I actually Googled this variety of makeup, and it actually was known to cause cancer. So I was just like, there's so many little things and this is something that she was doing every single day, right? It's the things we do every day, every meal, every hour, every whatever it is we're doing every day. They're the things that I look at and go, okay, I need to do better there. Doesn't mean to say I do it straight away. Sometimes I just like, okay, just being aware. All right, I'm aware everything comes in plastic, and I'm aware that I live here now. What am I going to do? So now it's a matter of watching, looking in the endless supermarkets and endless big markets and shopping centers here. And is there some form of container that I can get that won't look too ridiculous if I hand it over to the street cart person and say, could you put it in there, please, right? Having said that, street carts is probably the most likely. There's a street cart that sets up across the road from our condo on the little alley of our condo, and he sells meat sticks, right? So pork, which has been flattened on a stick, or chicken skewer sticks, like meat on a stick. It's just like all kinds, right? And they're 10 baht each. That's 50 cents for a stick. So we'll go down and we'll buy 100 baht of worth of sticks and then add it to something. And he puts it in plastic, the bottom of which, so he'll get a plastic bag, the bottom of which he'll throw in cabbage and a whole heap of green chilies and all sorts of things like that, which I actually save to cook like with eggs and stuff later. Not the chilies. We can't do that yet. We're doing really well with chili though. And surprisingly, my husband, who gets reflux, has had less of it by eating more spicy foods. So if any of you out there have got stomach issues, try the spice, because I know cayenne pepper and that sort of thing is meant to help digestion. Anyway, that's by the by. So if I took down a glass container to this street cart guy, and he would quite happily put it all in my glass container, and it's only just down at the front of our condo. So there are a few things like that I can do. But yeah, now the first step with anything like that we need to change is just being aware. We need to change it, and looking around and being observant and brainstorming ideas in your own head or with somebody else as to what options are the least problematic for you, right? Because if you're just not confident enough to say, can you put this in a container, glass container, let alone saying it to a Thai person who doesn't understand a word of English, you're not going to do it. So it's about coming up with solutions besides finding glass containers to take with me on the road, which are not light. It's not far to the street, to the night market that we get our meals from if we go out for dinner. But yeah, how would you go about that? Because more heads are better than one, right? So if you've got an idea of how I get around that, please let me know. In the meantime, do I just buy the whole fruit and cut it up myself when it's so cheap to do it that way? Do I stop buying salad in a plastic bag? So, yeah. All right. So that's it from me. If you've got ideas, please let me know. And otherwise, I will see you next Sunday. Have a really great week.